I see we're running in dark mode.
As you can see, there's nothing actually written in the document yet, which is a good thing, because we're going to start coding. Let's get started with the basics. The first thing we need to type in is a label. You may be asking yourself the following question: how do I make a label? Simple. All you need to do is write the word label and then type in anything you want after it. I prefer that you make labels that are easy for you to read and remember. For example, if your model needs one file of random script code, make your first line label story. Add a colon after the end of your label. As a result, any lines below that label, provided they are 4 spaces at the start, will be a part of the... I'll show you an example script.
Hello world, I'm alive!
Here's an example of what the start of your script should look like. You may notice some text appearing in different colors. That is completely normal. The first line has label in blue. The second line has some dialogue in quotation marks. These are one of the most fundamental things about coding up a DDLC mod of your dreams. You should also notice that there are 4 spaces inserted at the start of the second line. Let's go over what a label is before we proceed with the next step. A label exists to be called or jumped to. We'll dub those as label statements. Label statements allow the given name to be assigned to a program point. They exist solely to be called or jumped to, either from read-by script, Python functions, or from screens. To create a label, you'll need to write the label statement followed by its name. What will the label execute, though? Well, the label will execute its definition. Every time you see a colon in front of a statement, it's because the label is being defined. You can name the label statement anything you want. For example, our label statement is called label story. The second line has a piece of dialogue between 2 double quotes. For example, our dialogue says, "Hello world, I'm alive." That is called a string. Every line of dialogue needs to be a string. Any string without any letters or words around it is narration. For example, in DDLC, the narration is typically in the main character's mind. There is a reason why the second line has 4 spaces inserted in the beginning. Not adding 4 spaces for each line after the label statement will give us a parsing error, in which we call bad indentation. Every line that links to all labels is a statement that requires 4 spaces behind them. You can manually press the spacebar 4 times behind the line so that it is part of the label. However, that is a waste of time. We can instead use tabs, which is equivalent to 4 spaces. To use them in any text editor, you need to set it up so that it knows you want 4 spaces and not the actual tab. Here's something interesting. RedPie has its own extension for Visual Studio Code. Go ahead and download that by going into the Extensions tab located on the left side of VSC's interface and search for it. The RedPie language extension is created by the great Luke Daniel? I'll wait here and stare at the camera while you go ahead and install that real quick.
Nah, I'm a scrub, I don't use Visual Studio Code. The extension has been installed, I lied to her.
Great! Now that we have our little test scripts coded in, we need to make RedPie call it. Let's open up scripts.rpy now, so we can proceed with the task at hand. Whoa! Alright then. Don't panic, please. Oh! This is the beginning portion of the script's RPY file. The default names for us are present here. Looking through the comments, you can add more characters. Sprites for custom characters must also be defined in definitions RPY though. The default names dub Sayori as The rest are dubbed as Girl 3, Girl 2, and Girl 1. The nerve for the developers to call me Girl 2. Can't they think of a more creative name like Small Girl or something? Wait, that actually sounds wrong. Just quickly change the default names to the correct ones. You should have S name as Sayori, M name as Monica, N name as Natsuki, and Y name as Yuri. That's a pretty simple change to make, as to state the obvious fact that we already know how these characters are.
Actually, you can just straight up delete these lines, because this is for like whenever the game is starting fresh. Like whenever you click new game, basically, it jumps to this label and it defines these, because whenever you're starting a new game, you wouldn't know who any of these characters are yet, so it just does these. But these variables are actually defined with the proper names elsewhere in the script, which is why they need to be changed here. So in order for them to be like the regular names, you can just take these 4 lines out. and they'll be their regular names. It won't change them.
Once you made that little adjustment, let's scroll down to the actual script.
You were saying something, Natsuki. Auto-ending text boxes.
Okay, so here's the... Wait a minute! You know what the script file is for, right?
That script file contains the original vanilla game script.
Precisely! This is the script for the original game! We need to remove all traces of the original script so that our mod doesn't call it! Distributing your mod as it stands now is not okie dokie! Nobody wants to play your mod and then find out that it's the original game all over again. Your mod will be instantly rejected. So let's change the script area in this file so that we can avoid that shit. How about this? Delete everything from lines 54 to 103 and replace it with call story.
Wait, story called.
This is what you should have on your screen. Don't worry about the other persistent playthroughs. We won't be needing them now that the script file will no longer call the original game script. Because the script file will no longer call the original script, it will never touch the other persistent playthroughs. Just save the changes that were made and that's it. If your text editor is capable of saving changes automatically via settings, setup, or something along those lines, then that's great. Auto-saving is great for when you want to save your changes on the fly for a set period of time. It depends on how it's set up. For example, in VSC, I have it set so the file is saved the moment I stop typing to think what to insert next. You can also save the file just by clicking into any other window to check over pings and notifications you haven't read yet. I bet you have a lot of unread pings and notifications.
Not me, I cleaned that stuff out.
Anyway, once you've finished saving your changes, switch your focus to the RenPy launcher. With the RenPy launcher open, just run your mod. If you see the dialog box say, "Hello world, I'm alive," after you click on New Game and name your main character, then great job! If not, whether an error is spit out or the game loads the vanilla script, you must have done something wrong. Correct whatever mistakes are made and try again! Now that we got RenPy to call our own label statement, we're ready to move on. By the way, that particular line does not need to be spoken by the narrator. You can put the letter of a Doki's name before it in order to them to say that they are alive instead. For example, you can either make it Monica, Natsuki, Sayori, or Yuri say that they are alive. Just type in M, N, S, or Y before the dialogue string respectively. Or respectively, sorry. You can also put MC before the double-quoted string to show that the player is actually saying that he's alive. Well, that concludes this lecture. We'll move on to the next one when you're ready. And oh boy, this next one's going to be big!
We're on this one now, right? Visuals and choices, I believe.
Hey, Hallie! Now that we got RenPy to call our own label statement, our story is bare bones and only has one line. And that will never do for a mod at all.
Well, unless you want to make the shortest playable mod.
In order for our mod to be successful, we need visuals. Visuals are the most fundamental part of any game, especially in visual novels.
Well, that depends. I mean, some people have played text adventures that don't have any visuals at all.
There's a reason why they're called visual novels. In a visual novel, visuals must exist. So naturally, we need visuals. Duh! So what are we waiting for? Let's begin! First, we need to set up our very first scene. We'll start by looking at the backgrounds that DDLC uses. I recommend that you open this Google document as it will help us out a lot.
What Google document?
Special thanks to Mr. Epic is here 777 for this document. Without it, we'd be stumped. This document contains basic information that we're covering now and covering later. It's quite convenient if I say so myself. Let's take a look at the names of all the available backgrounds and its definitions located in Definitions RBY. Image BG Residential Day. Image BG Class Day. Image BG Corridor. Image BG Club Day. Image BG Club Day 2. This one usually has a 1/5 chance to appear. To have this background always appear, you should remove the choice blocks. Then move the images directory to before the green comment. Image BG Closet. Image BG Bedroom. Image BG Sayori Bedroom. Image BG House. ImageBG Kitchen. ImageBG Notebook. ImageBG Notebook Glitch. Well, that's all of the major backgrounds. There includes unused content in the files themselves. We can restore those by defining them in definitions RPY. In order to actually see the files, we need to use a tool that is capable of extracting RPA files. We'll touch base on that in a future lecture. Now that you know about the backgrounds used in DDLC, let's throw one in. For example, we'll replace the entire dialogue string with Scene BG Club Day. Your script should now look like this. Now then, we're going to create a quick scene that takes place in the club room. And I got a quick idea on what could happen. Give me one moment. Done. Go ahead and copy all of that down exactly like it's shown on my screen.
I don't think I will. I'm done copying. Sure.
Okay, let's break everything down and explain everything that's happening. In this example, I ask the MC if he would like to play with me. If he says sure, then I get all happy. If he says no, then I get really sad. It's simple stuff and my mood swings are stupid.
Thank you.
But this is just an example. Let's go over every individual piece of the script. First off, we're going to break down the line Scene BG Club Day. The words scene and BG should always be put in front of the background that you choose. You can add effects to the background changes by adding with or with on the end. For example, with wipe left scene to get the wipe left scene change that is used in DDLC. There are 4 spaces just before the scene line because this line and everything after it is a part of the label, or a label. I've already explained about labels in the previous lecture, but in short, they allow the given name to be assigned to a program point. The next line we'll break down is Show Natsuki 1C at T11. Show displays a character. Hide does the opposite. Natsuki is the name of the character, it's me. The characters can be interchangeable, so you may want to have Monica, Sayori, or Yuri appear there instead. 1 is the selected pose for the character that is also interchangeable. It's also the default pose, which is usually arms down depending on character. For me, I have an intense stance. Let me quickly show you my poses since I'm obviously on the screen. Pose 1, Pose 2, Pose 3, Pose 4, Pose 5. In case you didn't notice, my 5th pose is actually my special pose. But my forward-facing expressions can still be used due to the way my character sprites were built. As a matter of fact, I'm the only character who's capable of using the same expressions even if I'm showing my special pose. To put it another way, everyone else has their own expressions related to their special pose. And I can use the same forward-facing expressions regardless of the pose I'm in. Hey, being a tsundere is hard work! However, my distressed expressions are not compatible with my special pose shown in action right now, so if you do want to use them, you will have to make new definitions. Monica and Sayori's expressions are unique to their own special pose. Let me give you the rest of the characters' poses so you get an idea of what they look like. Let's start with Monica because I know you all like her so much. Monica's pose 1, pose 2, pose 3, pose 4. Monica's pose 5, aka her special pose. Jeez, Monica creeps me out when she bends over like that. It's very suggestive. Bruh.
Oh, that was Monica saying that.
Bruh. Alright, so that was Monica's poses. And that was also Monica's other expression for her special pose. It was a one-off, only shown when I did that squid joke. It's still hilarious to this day. Let's see Sayori's poses next. Sayori's pose 1, pose 2, pose 3, pose 4. Sayori's pose 5, aka her special pose. That's the look she makes when she's either nervous or is pouting, calling MC a meanie. Stop it! You're mean for not putting me in your mod. That was Sayori's poses and special pose expressions. As for Yuri, she only has 4 poses. Though similarly to the other characters, her final pose is still the special pose. Yuri's pose 1, pose 2, pose 3, pose 4, aka her special pose. Yuri's a bit antisocial during each school day. I don't know why that's the case.
Please don't say things like that. How come I'm not in your mod yet?
You will. Eventually.
Thanks.
Let's talk about how to hide these characters. It's a simple process. All you have to do is write the exact same line, but instead of using the position name, just write hide. However, it usually only works with effects T and L. For example, show Yuri 4E at T hide. And then on the next line, I wrote hide Yuri. I will explain about the positions and effects in just a moment. For now, let's take a look at the next part. C is the character's facial expression, which is again interchangeable. I got the whole alphabet of expressions plus some extra ones. I'll show you my basic expressions since it's obvious that I'm the only character showing on your screen right now. Expression A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now you know which expressions is which for me. I wonder which of these you prefer. I have special expressions on top of that. The following expressions are not compatible with my special pose and can only work for pose 1 and pose 4. You need to make new definitions if you want to use them for my special pose. I'll be real here, most of these depict me crying, especially the latter half of those expressions. Why anyone would want to make anything to depict me crying like a whiny little baby is beyond me at this point. Though, when you compare how I cry to how Sayori cries, I appear to cry more genuinely than Sayori. Then again, that's probably just me. I guess that's what tsunderes do in general if they rage too much. It might or might not be understandable to some people, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm going to show off those sad expressions anyway, just for your sake of reference. These can be found in that cheat sheet too, or Google document you looked at a while ago. Expression 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, 2E, 2F, 2G, 2H, 2I. That was all 9 stat expressions that I'm able to make. Though you can make new ones by switching around part choices on my face?
Switching around part choices over... Okay, yeah, whatever.
For example, expression 2F but with 2C, 2E, and 2I's mouth. Or maybe expression 2A with 2D, 2F, 2G, and 2H's mouth. You can also try expression 2D,
2D again?
2G, or 2H with 2A and 2B's mouth. I'm interested to see how you combine those differently. There's 2 extra sprites of mine that are one-offs from Act 2 and are both static images. This, and I am very sorry that you had to see that. The Vomit sprite is the only totally original, full, non-glitchy static image out of all the sprites in my own sprites folder. Open up Definitions RPY and look for my Vomit sprite. My Vomit sprite is defined as image Natsuki Vomit, Natsuki/Vomit PNG. My Scream sprite is also not interchangeable for some reason, despite there being a sprite of just the expression itself. It's defined as image Natsuki Scream with my first uniform pose and then the Scream expression. The expression of me screaming is present, but if you want to have a sprite of me screaming while wearing my casual outfit, then you need to make a new definition. I'll teach you how to make that really minor addition right now as a practice for what we're going to cover later. Just copy the entire line and paste it underneath, then tweak the pasted line with image Natsuki B Scream and add B to my default pose. So you should have Natsuki 1BL instead of Natsuki 1L and Natsuki 1BR instead of Natsuki 1R, and then let Natsuki Scream stay as is. We'll be learning about stuff like this in a future lecture, so this was just a warm-up. Now for the position. At T11 is the character's position. Instead of reading the number as 11, you are supposed to read it as 1-1.
Well, I still read it as 11.
The first number represents the number of characters on the screen, and the second number represents the position from the left. Let me show you the positions. Position 101, position 32 is identical to this one. Position 21, position 42 is identical to this one.
That's not true!
Position 22, position 43 is identical to this one. Position 31, 33, 41, 44. There are multiple positions effects used in DDLC. Effects T is the default one. The character simply fades in at that position normally. Salutations.
Oop, I clicked out. There.
Yep, just like that.